Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us. My name is Lance Gunkel. I'm the Managing Director of Severson Strachey. And joining me today is Jason Gunkel. Jason is our Chief Investment Officer. He's also a planner, works with many of you out there. And I tried to get it so that we could see Jason's video today, and the technical difficulties are all on my end, so I apologize for that. We'll just have to imagine Jason over there. But Jason, can you hear us loud and clear?
Yes, can you hear me?
All right, we have you. Everyone, thanks for joining us again this week as we continue on our self-quarantining Q&A video sessions. Jason and I will start off with a few opening remarks and then open it up for any questions that you have. Before we start, I'll just share that we're trying to get creative at our house and how we're spending our time, trying to make sure we stay kind to one another. One thing we're doing is a book club, and a couple members of our family have dropped out of the club, but my 10-year-old is still participating. And the book we're currently on is a Tom Clancy novel. I tried to get him to pick something a little more lighthearted during this time, but that was a non-starter for him. So that's one thing we're doing. Jason, is your family being creative in what you're doing to occupy your time?
I am not creative, but luckily my wife is a teacher, and so she has a full schedule for them every day, including arts and craft time and physical education. So they are staying entertained and allowing me to work, which is one nice perk of having a teacher as a wife.
Wow, that's fantastic. All right. Another bit before we get started. If you have questions during our session, if you hover to the lower part of your screen, you will see a dialog box that says Q&A. You can type your questions there, and I'll be sorting through those as we proceed this afternoon. So don't be bashful. Send any question our way that you have. The markets since we've met have done pretty well. So if we look at a measure of the U.S. stock market, the S&P 500, the last time we were together by video was April 1st. And in that week, we're recording this on April 8th. And in that intervening time, the S&P 500 is up about 10%. So we've seen a really nice partial recovery there. Jason, what do you suppose is moving the markets higher?
I think at the moment there's definitely some optimism out there. We've seen some of the hot spots, so to speak, for the virus, such as New York and then across the globe in Italy and Spain. Some of those places have seen maybe a peak or a plateau of cases. And so that has created a lot of optimism that there maybe is a little bit of light beginning to show here at the end of the tunnel, which has caused the markets to go up this week and rebound quite nicely.
Yeah, that's right. There's been a lot of talk in the press about whether we will experience a recession or whether we're in one now, and if we may see a depression. And so I just thought I'd kind of clarify the difference between the two. And a recession, a lot of people view that as 2 consecutive quarters of negative GDP growth. Now, the National Bureau of Economic Research, the NBER, they have a broader definition. that looks at a variety of factors and looks generally just for a significant decline in the economic activity spread across the entire economy. And they have a group within the NBER that is responsible for calling both the start and end of a recession. A depression, on the other hand, I guess there's kind of a common joke, what's the difference between a recession and a depression? A recession is when your neighbor loses their job, and a depression is when you lose yours. But a depression is thought of as just a more prolonged and severe contraction in the economy. And in hopes of preventing or limiting the damage done to the economy, seeing that we don't enter a depression, we saw over the last couple of weeks a stimulus bill that was passed that had quite a few benefits for both individuals and companies. Jason, were you able to spot one or two provisions that were particularly good for individuals or families?
Yeah, there definitely are some provisions that will help individuals and families. The recovery rebates are the direct payments that are going to families and individuals. $1,200 per individual, $2,400 per couple. Those do get phased out at certain income levels. And then also for every child, someone they'll receive $500, which those I believe do not get phased out. So the direct payments definitely are a benefit to people. In addition to that, required minimum distributions from IRA accounts. Once you reach 70 and a half, you are required to take money out of your IRA. And those required distributions have been waived for 2020. So that is a positive thing from a tax perspective. If clients don't need to take those distributions, they don't have to, and therefore they don't need to get taxed on that money.
Yeah, yep. And that's particularly important for a lot of our clients who are in that particular stage of life. So if they are taking IRA distributions only because it's mandated and they don't need to, they can contact their team and we can certainly help them get that discontinued. Now, if we kind of switch our focus onto the benefits for companies, maybe Jason, one or two items there that companies can use to benefit.
Sure. There are a number of provisions in the stimulus bill for companies. There was approximately $350 billion set aside to help small businesses. There's two major loan programs, and these loans are forgivable if certain criteria are met. The first one's called the Paycheck Protection Program. That can be a larger loan, up to 2.5 times the average monthly payroll of a company. Can be loaned out to companies in need because of the coronavirus and then forgiven. And then the second one is called the Economic Injury Disaster Loan. And this is a advance of up to $10,000 that is also 100% forgivable. There's a number of provisions in the law, but those are the two major programs that we see for small businesses. And those programs opened up on Friday. Everybody is still trying to sort through the details, including bankers, but those have been wildly popular. And there's already been talk of increasing those programs as soon as this week.
Yeah, I had heard, Jason, that most of Congress believed that the stimulus plan that was passed was kind of just an initial stab at it, and that there'd be future stimulus programs kind of ongoing or as needed. I see that talks continue as we speak. And those programs that are being tossed around could include even further benefits for small businesses, as well as additional checks to individuals or families. Are you hearing something similar, Jason?
Yes, I am. And I guess I've heard that, as early as this week, there could be more funding available for the small business loan program, maybe up to an additional 250 billion. That seems to have some bipartisan support. And then I've heard maybe a time frame of the end of this month to get a larger stimulus bill rolled out again. And that would maybe include additional direct payments to individuals and also some increased unemployment benefits. There has been rumblings for a long time in Washington about a large infrastructure bill that seemed to pick up momentum this year with the virus to try to put people back to work. But it now sounds like that will get pushed back to maybe later in the year for a large infrastructure bill.
Okay, great. A reminder to everyone attending, if you have questions for Jason or myself, you can use the Q&A box. Just send your questions our way and we'll filter through those. Jason, I know you've spent a lot of your days on the phone with clients, whether it's in regularly scheduled meetings or just fielding client concerns or questions. Have you seen any themes in the conversations that you're having?
We've definitely seen people feeling better this week about things. And not to say we've had, too many clients calling in that are panicking, but there's been definitely more optimism this week as the market has bounced back. And, we saw two bad job reports that were released the last 2 weeks. And even those days that those reports were released, the market was up very big. So I think there's generally very low expectations for a lot of economic data that will be released. And so the market so far has proven to be fairly resilient and showing some signs of potentially bottoming. But, by and large, questions are asking, is this the bottom? And is now a good time to maybe increase the amount of stock exposure that we have in our portfolios?
Yeah, well, that's good. I like to hear that our clients are thinking that way and seeing what opportunities might be out there. Now that things have kind of settled down a little bit, we don't know how long that'll last, but the markets are doing better. Maybe this can be a time for individuals to maybe reassess their willingness to assume risk. One thing that our team does with all of our clients when we're helping establish the appropriate portfolio for them, the right mixture of stocks and bonds, first we look at their ability to handle risk from a financial perspective, but also their willingness to assume risk. And we can measure that. One way to do it is through various questionnaires. If you're a client of ours, I'm sure your team has put you through one or more of those risk assessment tools. But our attitude towards risk changes over time, and that makes sense. And maybe now's a time to take a second look at that. So in the chat dialog box, you can hover down to the lower part of your screen and click where it says chat. I'm going to paste a hyperlink to a risk assessment tool that we like to use. If you're interested in seeing if your attitude towards risk has changed. And I will pull up a screenshot of what that's going to look like. Give me just a moment. Here we go. Okay, so when you go to that URL, you're going to come to this landing page, and it'll say, what is your risk number? And it'll lead you through a series of questions. It'll take 5 minutes at most. I promise it's pretty painless, but you can start in just a few questions. And at the end there, you will have a number. And I would then suggest you contact a member of your planning team, or you can reach out to me or Jason directly, and we can help you compare your current risk number that you'll receive here with the risk number that we assign to the portfolio mixture that you're currently in. And that'll help us dial in whether you are in the right mixture for your situation. So with that, we'll move to a few questions that have come in. The first is related to tax loss harvesting. Jason, before I answer the question here, could you give us just a quick primer on what is tax loss harvesting?
Sure. When we do have positions in an account that have loss value, so they're currently sitting at a loss position, we can sell that loss, sell that position and capture the loss. And so you might be asking yourself, why would we want to do that? Well, from a tax perspective, it is a good thing if we can show losses on your tax return. So these create realized capital losses that can be used to offset capital gains. They can also be used to offset up to $3,000 of ordinary income. Now, we would never advise selling a position when it has lost value. Typically, we don't want to sell a position when it's very low in value. So what we do is we purchase a substitute security, a security that is very similar to the one we sold. And according to the IRS, we have to hold this substitute security for 30 days, and then we can purchase back our original security that we sold. So Lance, you do a lot of the trading in the office. I know you've been busy doing that, but basically the exercise involves selling securities, buying replacements, and then 30 days later, buying back the original security.
Yep, that's right. And so a key to what Jason said there is that during this process, even though we're capturing this tax loss, we're keeping you invested in the market. So, and the question posed to us was, were we able to capture some tax losses? And yes, we have. These last 2 weeks, we've done loss harvesting in 3 different batches. And so we were successful in doing that. We invested in, like Jason said, alternative or replacement securities. So you're still invested in those same segments of the market. We're going to hold those replacement securities for 1 month. And at the end of that month, we'll then go back into the original position. So we did that. If we see continued volatility, particularly on the downside, we'll continue to see if there are further losses that we can capture that would benefit you from a tax standpoint. Jason, as it regards the timing of taking Social Security benefits, there's a question that came in related to whether this economic or market downturn might change when someone decides to begin their Social Security benefit.
One of the factors we do look at when trying to determine when to take Social Security benefits is if they delay the benefit, that likely means they're going to have to draw on their portfolio for the income that they need. Now, typically the way we've designed portfolios is we can withstand a downturn like we've experienced and still be able to draw money from portfolios without having to sell stock. And so the short answer to that question is no. I don't think our overall recommendations have changed when it comes to taking Social Security. It's very rare that we would suggest somebody take Social Security when they're first eligible at age 62. It is much more common for us to suggest they take Social Security when they're full retirement age, which is between 66 and 67 for people. And then for some individuals, we will recommend that they delay all the way till age 70. But I would say the only scenario where I could see it maybe making sense to take Social Security benefits maybe a little earlier is if you are very close to that full retirement age. So overall, our recommendations have not really changed, but you could talk to your financial planning team about that analysis.
Yep, great. Thank you, Jason. Well, we'll give you another minute or two to send in any questions while we wait for that. I will let you know that later this afternoon, we will be sending you a very brief survey asking about the videos that Jason and I are doing, if they're providing you the type of content that you're looking for, what you like, and also maybe some things that we can improve for you. We want to provide you with timely information that you find valuable. Make sure that we're helping you utilize your quarantine time as best as we can. Jason, do you have any concluding thoughts or ideas, or maybe some words of wisdom for our clients as we wrap?
Well, I guess one of the last sermons our pastor gave at church tried to use the analogy of a marathon to describe kind of the current situation we're in. And I think that is a good analogy. I've only run one marathon, Lance. I know you've run several. I probably don't want to run another one, but I think that analogy is useful in that we're going to be in this probably for the long haul. I think it'll probably run through the summer. Now, we can hope and pray that the number of deaths and the number of cases continues to go down, but it certainly seems like a lot of businesses will be shut down for a while now. And so this week we've had a lot of economists come out and have not given too rosy of a forecast for economic data over the next several months. And it's possible we go into a recession. It is even possible that we head into a depression. So I don't want to be too pessimistic, because the optimistic side of that is, the market has shown a lot of resilience. And I think there's just a general feeling that as soon as we get past this bad period, people are going to be very eager to go back to living their lives and to boost this stock market back up. And so I think you could possibly see a relatively quick recovery as well. But to use the analogy of a marathon, and I've kind of tried to frame my mindset that way, that we have a ways to go. Maybe we're in mile, 10 of a 26-mile race. So we might have a ways to go. There might be some more volatility in the markets that investors want to at least prepare themselves for. But rest assured, we will definitely get through this, and the markets definitely will recover as they have in the past.
Yeah. Thank you, Jason, for that. And as our client, you've entrusted us to help you navigate situations like this on your behalf so that you don't have to worry about it. And we thank you for allowing us to do that for you. Thank you for attending this afternoon. If you have any comments or feedback, we'd appreciate hearing them. But with that, we'll wrap up for today. We'll see you in a week. Everyone stay healthy. Enjoy your time at home, and we will talk soon. Goodbye.